Well, hello from Southern Ontario this March 19th. Well, I'm super bored, so I'm going to tell a story. Story time, if you're bored enough to care to follow along. The first part of the story is a parable, and the second part's just humorous. I'll make it in two parts. But let me preface the story by saying this rental dump I live in is rural. And not every fall, but maybe every second or third one on average, the rats try to move in the fall into the house. I go on a campaign of, eradication. Out come the homemade poisons, the traps. I make it my primary objective. The ones I don't exterminate, rats are pretty smart. They flee back out into the bush where they belong to do what rats should do, which is breed like rats and serve to feed the foxes and the coyotes. So there was this fella, we called him the Lump, because he was just a big useless lump. In his early 30s, he lived in a house that Daddy had bought for him. He got a monthly allowance from Daddy, basically just to stay away from Daddy and try and stay out of trouble, you simpleton. It was a sort of semi-rural property. The first time I was there, I was fascinated, not so much by the myriad of junk in his yard, but as a jack of all trades and not just a master of one, which is the correct expression for that. It's mutated over the years. But anyways, I digress. Was fascinated the attached two-car garage was slumping down, like big time. And as I'm approaching it, I'm thinking, well, this isn't a drainage issue. It hasn't eroded. What the devil is causing this? Well, the rats had excavated so much in under this, like almost one half of the double car garage, that it was really just the rebar and the poured slab floor and the roof rafter joists that were holding the thing up from not falling into the cavern. And the rats had just taken over his house. So I'm there one Sunday afternoon with, 2 or 3 other guys. We're doing one of those Sunday afternoon beer and burger projects. So we fry up some Barbie there on the back deck, and when we're done eating, it's coming to the evening, it's starting to cool down a little bit. The Lump says, well, bring your plates in, boys, just set them on the counter. We'll go in the living room and I'll roll off a few fat doobies, So that's what we do. We all throw our plates on the counter on the way by, and I'm just settling into the chair, and I hear thunk, bump, 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 thunk, bump, 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 like 6, 8 of them. I'm like, what in the devil is that? The Lump goes, well, that's the rats coming out of the cupboards to clean the plates off. I'm like, what? You kidding me, right? And he's like, no, I got to keep everything in the fridge. It's the only thing they can't get into. All the cans in the cupboards, they've chewed the labels off. I don't know if I'm opening a can of beans or a can of ravioli. And I'm like, wow, really? So, and then somebody else pipes up. He goes, it's evident, I should say, the Lump sleeps on the couch, right? There's the dirty pillow and the rumpled blankies, One of the other guys says, well, what's with all the candles, man? You scared of the dark? The Lump goes, no, I sleep with the TV on. Well, what's with all the candles? Because, the Lump isn't well reputed with the fairer sex, you know what I mean? The candles aren't there for a romantic reason. He says, well, no, I keep candles burning at night, keeps the rats away. I'm like, what? And he's like, well, I haven't gone in my bedroom, and they took over that 3 years ago. Well, I had to get up and have a look at that, right? I get up and go look. I open the bedroom door. It's like Stephen King would be inspired by this, right? I mean, they have a 15-minute city going on in there. Oh, wow. And rat turds everywhere. Oh, I closed the door, right? Whoa, man. I'm like, woo. Note to self, never have too many beers and decide to spend the night at this guy's joint, right? He'd literally just let the rats take over the place. They'd chewed through the walls, you know what I mean? They chew through the 2x4 studs, and you can hear them running down the walls. And I don't know what I was doing there on another occasion, and I opened up the fuse panel. Breaker panel was it was kind of weirdly built into the wall. I don't know why it would have ever been built that way, but I opened the door to access to the panel. There's 3 rats sitting there looking at me, entirely unconcerned. They don't feel worried about me at all. There's one burnt to a crisp. He's electrocuted himself in the fuse panel. I mean, lucky the house didn't burn, right? That's pretty common. A rat will fry itself on the 220, and they'll burst into flames. Excuse me. It's not just that they chew on the wiring. The lump seems rather unconcerned by this, right? The rats have just taken over and are destroying his house. So anyways, back to where we're sitting around in his living room after this barbecue, and you can hear the rats rattling around out in the kitchen with the pork chop bones. And one of the guys says, well, why don't you deal with them? You know, I mean, this is crazy. Well, how would I do that? So, you know, get some big old barn cats, lock them in the house, don't feed them. They'll eat the rats. Oh, I wouldn't want to put up with that. Cat shit in the litter box stinks. I don't want to deal with that. That stinks. Well, hey, this guy's place is not all factorially pleasing with all these rats, right? We're kind of looking at him like, well, you poison them then. Oh no, the dogs. He's got 2 dogs he keeps chained up out in the yard that he, past tense, remembered enough to feed and water once in a while. Oh no, I can't do that because of the dogs. And we're all like, well, yeah. Why don't you trap them then? He says, no, the neighbor tried that. We're like, the neighbor? He goes, yeah, the neighbor came over, said I should be trapping him, and I said I didn't want to deal with that, so he set out some traps. And we're like, well, why would the neighbor come over and trap your rats? And he's going, well, because he's got rats, and says they come from my place, but if he's got rats, how do I know the rats here didn't come from his place? Well, the guy next door lives like a normal human being, right? So yeah, the rats had just literally, I mean, this place, I've never seen anything like it. So I think you see the parable part of the story here now, right? Once you let those rats take over too far, you're in big trouble. Well, anyways, that's the parable part of the story. I'll make this into part 2 if you want to know what happened to the lump, because, well, it just gets ridiculous at this point.